Seminar here this morning. We're going to have some great information shared with you today. My name is Jason Reese. I am the Vice Chair for Community Development here at the Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the board, welcome to our Business Development series. What we'll be doing today, I want to give you a quick introduction to that, and then show you kind of what our basic goals are for today. But the focus for today is to give you a concept of what sales is, and then for you to hear from people who do it every day. Best practices, if you want to call it that. And so the first session we'll do here in about 10-15 minutes. I'm going to do some introductions here in a minute. But in about 10-15 minutes, I'll do a quick overview of what you see behind you. Just a foundation of sales. Of what's going to happen, and then here in just a little while we'll have these two different sessions, one based on networking, how we can use that towards our success of your business. We'll have two speakers, Patrick Castillo with ServPro, as well as Ted Smith with State Farm, and then our last session, our second session after, that will end our time together, is about closing. How do you close the sale, and what does that mean to you? We'll have Janelle McDonald, as well as Judy McDonald, and Caroline Gardner with us to do that session. So we're really excited about our panelists, but I want to say a few thank yous before we get started. First of all, thank you to our sponsors. Our sponsors for the Business Development Series is Farmers State Bank. Stephanie's here. Where are you? Sit in the back, say thank you for her and everything they do. For our Business Development Series, we do quarterly-ish meetings, and they're always a great supporter. We also have for the series ServPro. Obviously, Patrick's here to be a panelist, but thank you to ServPro. The Arnold Center for Entrepreneurship is one of our newer sponsors of this session. I don't think anybody's here from that, so I'll represent them since it's SFA, and that's technically in my college. But the Arnold Center for Entrepreneurship is relatively new, and excited to have them on board. We've also got Honeywood's Apartment Association. Mary is here. There you are. Hey. And so thank you for everything you do for this series as well. And you help organize a lot of these events with us. So thank you so much. And then the other Mary from NEDCO, or Nacogdoches Economic Development Corp. Are you here? Oh, you're right next to me. So hello. Thank you for everything that NEDCO does with the Chamber as well as with this series. So thanks so much. Last but not least, you have food today, and that's awesome. And Pemberley's is our food sponsor, our lunch sponsor today. I don't think anybody's here from Pemberley's, but this is a great food, so go and check them out if you haven't already. So great local business. So thanks so much to them. All right, so for this next few minutes, I just want to get to know everybody else in the room, because that's going to help me, help our panelists understand what types of businesses or organizations are in the room. People will be trickling in and grabbing food as they go. I'll do the ground rules, housekeeping, so to speak, of today's session. Very informal. If you need to get up, take a phone call, go for it. Don't feel like you're interrupting. My students, I'm a professor, obviously. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but they go to sleep on me and walk out of the room, so it's not a big deal. Just don't go to sleep. Go take a nap in your car if you really need to take a nap. No, I kid. Very informal. Do whatever you need to do. If you need to ask questions, do that as well. Outside in the lobby, you probably saw, if you haven't been in this building before, is the restrooms. There's also water in the back in the cooler, and maybe later some extra food. But feel free to come and go. We're going to have an intro from about 11:45 to about 12:10. That's where I'll be giving this foundation talk. And we'll have a couple of breaks between these, maybe about 5 minutes for you to take a break and talk to the panelists maybe for a couple of minutes. But that's kind of the housekeeping. Feel free to ask any questions as you go. So I want to go around the room and just get to know who's in the room. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about later that you need to have is prepared before you have a sales conversation is kind of the 30-second pitch, or you've heard the elevator pitch. I don't like that phrase so much. There's not that many elevators in Nacogdoches anyway. There's not huge buildings. But the point is, if you were stuck in an elevator and somebody was asking you in about 30 seconds what you do and what your business is, that's what I'm going to ask you to do. So real quickly around the room, not necessarily specifically 30 seconds, but who are you, what business do you have, and just briefly kind of what do you guys do? And I'm going to start over here and work our way all the way back around. So I know, that's what happens when you stand right next to me. So I have to sit here too. So go ahead and tell us kind of who you are, your business, and generally what your business does.
My name's Alex. I work with Three Skies Property Management. I'm one of the leasing agents. I just help gather more information for our prospects that we have and give them all that they need for the big step of their life of leasing with us.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Savannah. I'm also with Three Skies Management. I'm the assistant manager at the California, and pretty much
We're going to keep it going. My name is Victoria. I also work at Three Skies. I'm the property manager at the Californian.
Jeff Thompson, I do not work for the same company. I actually work for a company called Clark Seals, which is based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But we have myself, I'm a territory sales manager and an engineer located here in Nacogdoches. We just had this discussion. I always like to say that I sell seals, and I get a lot of interesting looks, but industrial manufacturing.
By the seashore?
There you go.
It's not quite.
I'm Denise Thompson, and I work at E-Tech. We're a call center here in Nacogdoches. My title is an account leader, so I run a couple of the campaigns here in the Nacogdoches Center.
My name's Henry DeCoyer. I do outside sales for Express Employment Professionals, and we connect great businesses with people, staffing.
I'm Mary Mochniak. I'm with the Piney Woods Apartment Association, and I am their executive, helping all the members who own and manage property in Nacogdoches and 7 other counties to network with each other, to be educated, and any kind of direction that they may need.
Thanks. I'm Brent McLemore, and I'm the director for professional and continuing ed at SFA, which is a new office, brand new, but we're designed to help with providing opportunities for education and training that are like upskilling, reskilling, and certifications that people might be interested in, professional development, continuing ed credit, units, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in any of that, please let me know.
So basically what we're doing today.
Yeah. Yeah. In some ways.
In some ways.
Yes.
My name is Brent Carr. I'm the pastor, one of the pastors at Grace Bible Church, over all of our small groups, adult small groups, and over our local and global missions.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kent White, and I tell everyone that I am the lesser half of Robin Butch and Kent White Marine Vacations. We just recently joined the chamber a couple of months ago, and we're excited to be part of Nacogdoches. We have deep roots and ties to Nacogdoches County. My wife is a SFA alum, and I have a first cousin that's actually the superintendent out at Central Heights. So we're thrilled to be here and excited to be part of Nacogdoches County.
Hello, I'm Brad Coldren. I'm a business finance student at SFA, and I'm interested to learn and meet people here.
I teach a sales management class on the spring YouTube table here. I really love that much.
I'll let you know.
So I'm Michelle Cox. I help children with their mindset and nervous system regulation and emotions as a life coach for kids and teens. I'm also the CEO of the Changemakers Women's Resilience Summit that's coming up in February. So do a lot with mindset and mental health.
Hey, I'm Carrie Simon. I own Efficient Business Solutions, and we're a brand new company that is business consulting. And so what I do is help other businesses keep on track and keep their growth going by supporting them in any of the admin stuff that they might need help in, or with customer support, or doing any of the kind of stuff that keeps them away from doing their target work.
Hi, I'm Caroline Garner. I'm the CEO of Nacogdoches Area United Way. I have the honor of being one of your panelists today, so to be continued.
My name is Dawson. I am a finance major currently at SFA. I'm a junior, and I'm looking to dip my toes in the sales world. I'm definitely passionate about a sales career, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes me.
Questions, y'all know each other?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Same class? You all in the same class?
No fraternity.
That would be, I'm glad that you guys aren't just sitting next to each other. That's good to get out and do. I will say, are y'all taking the Selling Financial Services class?
No, sir. I have not heard about it, but
So
it
there's
sounds
a class that's offered, I don't know, maybe once a year. Check it out. We'll talk about it.
Yes, sir.
I don't teach that.
Yes, sir.
I am Candace Stott. I do sales and marketing for Serve Pro. I will not bore you with that because Patrick's going to tell you all about it.
I'm Patrick, I'm a Serpent, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Michael Kimbrough with Beck Williams here in the Nacogdoches office. Project management outside sales. Younger Howard, we have a startup spoken siren. And we specialize in Internet of Things on the industrial.
We're entrepreneurs and we're just here and interested in learning more about things that are going on.
My name is Lisa Lee, I'm a marketing major at SFA, and I'm here to learn more about sales.
There's a lot of sales classes in marketing. You didn't hear that.
I'm Sarah, I went 3 Skies Property Management and I'm the property manager at Taliesin.
I'm Sarah, I'm part of 3 Skies Management as well. I'm assistant property manager with the Magnolia Apartments.
I'm Kayla, I'm an SFA student majoring in business.
I'm Kaylee Zanko, I'm an SFA student as well, and I am an accounting major.
Accounting?
Yes.
So why'd you come here about sales today? I know I'm picking and asking you.
Well, to be honest, it was part of the passport points.
There you go. Well, then maybe I'll convince you to be marketing major today. We'll go back row, because you guys are, and if there's room, we might be able to squeeze you guys up to the table, but nonetheless, where are you guys from?
My name's Olivia. I'm with Square Real Estate Solutions. I'm the district manager with 3 Skies as well.
I'm Janelle McDonald. I am the Director of Operations for Square Real Estate Solutions as well as 3 Skies Management, both based out of Nacogdoches. So you see a lot of my staff here today, and I am one of your panelists, so we'll talk more later.
I'm Rachel Bonner. I'm the district manager for Nacogdoches through 3 Skies Management. I also directly manage the Russian River Apartments on North Pecan.
My name is Janet Melendez. I'm the owner of Unlimited Designs, and we do embroidery, custom embroidery, sublimation, direct-to-film, promotional products. There's not much we don't do, so if you've got something you need, just let us know.
I'm Mary Frances Bradford with Economic Development, otherwise known as NEDCO. And I have the fun job of working with all of our local businesses, small, medium, and large, to provide the resources they need.
I'm Judy McDonald, and I used to work for her. I retired economic developer from NEDCO and one of your panelists.
And our former mayor, and names on the library. Well, how many people talk to you?
And I did work for him too.
Not work for you. Technically, I was on the board.
You were on the
did
board.
it.
I just worked for you. I was just
Jason. I'm Sherry Williams with the Chamber of Commerce, and my main job is membership. So for any of you that are not members, come speak to me afterward. I would love to talk to you about being a member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Awesome. So about me, I guess I didn't do my intro other than that I was the vice chair. So my role at SFA is I am an associate professor of marketing. I teach our sports promotion, sports marketing, marketing of sales, or sorry, marketing of services, sales management. I teach a couple grad classes. I'm the MBA director, so if you're interested in going to get your master's in business administration, come talk to me. But there's lots of things that I've done at SFA from a marketing and sales perspective. I do a lot, hopefully, over the years. It's helped me build relationships, but I do a lot in the community. I've been in Nacogdoches JC. Is there any JCs in the room, or former JCs? Okay, a couple, awesome. Great organization to be involved in. I've been on the chamber board for 2 years, vice chair. This is my first year in that role. Before I came to SFA, I moved here in 2014 with my wife. I've got 3 little girls, 10, 7, and 5 now, and so we're busy, but we moved here to teach in the College of Business and start a sport business program. So I will try not to bore you with all of the sales examples in sports, because that's what my background is. Before I went to grad school, I worked in professional baseball. I worked for the AAA, the affiliate of the Houston Astros, actually, in Round Rock, Texas. Anybody been to Round Rock Express games before? So that was my I guess, industry experience before I went back to grad school. So tickets, sponsorships, commercial spots, groups, and everything in between. And so that's kind of my has been my focus before going to grad school. I went to Texas A&M University for my master's and PhD. Who's the Aggie? Who said the whoop?
Oh, I'm an Aggie.
There it is. All right. So I'm a 2-time grad of SFA. Not of SFA. of A&M. I'm not a grad of SFA, but that's kind of my background here. And so what I want to kind of go into at this point is, as you notice going around the room, there is a wide variety of positions, businesses, some people who sales was in their title, some sales was not in their title, it may be part of what they do. And I will argue, just like an entrepreneur would, everybody does sales. You're selling something. If nothing else, you're selling yourself to the person you're talking to. And so, oh gosh, you're right, Caroline? In case you didn't see that banner, you're right?
No, nothing else panelist.
That's right. The panel hit the panelist. Where was I? Oh, everybody sells. So no matter what you do, whether sales is in your title or not, you're selling something. You're selling an idea, you're selling a product, you're selling a process, or something along those lines. And so what I hope to accomplish this morning, before we jump into our panelists, is just a basic understanding of sales foundations. Now, for some of you that you do this every day, you're going to go, okay, this is really basic, and that's okay. Because if you think of it from I'm going to use a sports example. We're about to go into basketball season, right? And everybody can shoot a free throw, hopefully, that plays basketball either professionally or for the SFA Lumberjacks. They can shoot a free throw, and they've done it for their whole life. But sometimes you go back to the foundation, the fundamentals, and go, okay, how do I actually shoot a free throw? I have no idea. But the point is, they would go back and learn that form. And so what we're going to hopefully get out of this is touching base on some of the foundations of sales. So for the next 15-ish minutes or so, 20 maybe, we'll talk about some of these foundations of sales. Talk about the theory behind it, but then also talk a little bit about the functional, if I'm standing in front of somebody, what do I do? And so what I'm about to kind of go through here, I was telling somebody else earlier, is what I do for an entire semester. We're going to do about 20 minutes. So I'm going to hopefully not go too fast or too surface level. So if we look at sales just in general for any business, the sales is the basic foundation. It's the revenue producing element of the marketing process, right? Your whole job in sales is to increase revenue, right? There's cost side, there's revenue centers there's cost centers and revenue centers in every business. We got one that's going around again. I've got one, yeah, so I'm good. Sorry. What was being passed out while I was talking was the PowerPoints that I've got up here if you want to take notes on them. If not, it's yours to keep or throw away, whatever you like. It's front and back. And then the other document I'll kind of go over in just a second, but that's a little sales discussion process handout. But no matter what, you've got cost centers and revenue centers in every business. And what we do in sales is oftentimes on the revenue side. And so one of the easiest ways to point to success is through revenue generation. When we think about sales, there's two basic approaches to sales. When you're selling a product can be a good or a service, right? So it can be a tangible thing that I'm giving you and you give me something in exchange, money usually, for that. Or it could be a service, right? Something that I'm doing for you. So I could be a product-focused sales approach. That is where you basically say, I'm emphasizing what is great about the product. We'll talk about utility in a second, but every product creates some sort of utility. That is the one satisfying power of a good or service. It is what makes people buy it. I can buy it because of the tangible things that are involved in it. So I buy a water bottle because the water tastes great. That's the tangible utility of the product. I can do it because it's a convenient item, right? You ever go to a store and the umbrella is sitting at the exit when it's raining, right? I need an umbrella because it's raining. It's convenience. It can be about customization. So there's lots of ways that you can look at utility. That's essentially the value that you're creating with a product, right? So if I have a product-focused sales approach, it's saying, here's what's great about what I'm selling, and let me tell you about it. I have a great bottle of water. It's designed amazing. It tastes amazing. But I've never asked you what you desire in a bottle of water. And so what I'm going to focus mainly on the rest of this is what happens when we take the second approach. And that's the customer-focused sales approach. To go, so what do you like in a bottle of water? It's stressing the needs and the wants of the consumer and then finding something that will fit them, right? It's this idea of consultative selling. So consultative selling is essentially, I'm consulting with you, the person that has a potential problem, and I might have something that's going to solve that problem. Right? And so in this circumstance, the definition of a consultative selling is a customer-focused sales method in which, underline, you ask questions. Talk about that in a minute. Then from that conversation, you're asking questions, you learn more about the customer, then you present a customized approach to that problem, to solve the problem that they may have, and you specifically highlight or address the needs and the desire of the customer. So in other words, you've asked questions to learn more about them, and you present a solution that is based on what you learned about it, right? Because if you're just going, hey, so tell me about your business, what do you need, what can I do to help you, and you're not listening, but let me tell you about the product that I have, then I'm taking a product-focused sales approach, right? I'm going back to, okay, I don't really care what the person wants, I've got a great product, you need to buy it. That is, there's a time and place for that, but what we're going to talk about here is this consultative selling, which most businesses do, right? You think about what the customer might need and provide a solution to that in a customized way. So on the left side, here's the product focus. So the customers are all the same to you, and I'm painting this in a negative light. There are approaches to product focused sales approach, but the customers are all the same. The presentation's the same. I'm not going to change how I present it. You might take an example of Coca-Cola, right? There might be some consultative selling when you're doing wholesale marketing of those things, but for the most part, if I'm just an everyday consumer wanting to buy a Coca-Cola product, I'm probably taking a customer-focused approach. The ads are the same, they're marketing to me and my target audience, and so on and so forth. I persuade the customer to buy, a one-way communication, I'm talking to them instead of with them, focus on the product, I offer my opinions, and you won't really see the customer again. On the right side is more the focus of the customer. So everybody is unique. I'm looking backwards, but everybody's unique. Personalize the presentation for that individual. They help lead to a solution, listening to what they need, and it's a conversation two-way. Focus on the right solution, asking questions, and then you're going to be judged on whether or not you listened and how you help them at the end of the sale. So this is where I'll pause and I'll say, from a consultative sales approach, you're really just having a conversation with somebody. And all of you are able to do that because you do it every day. But you're having a conversation about something that you have a passion for, most likely. Because many of you are business owners or high-level executives within your business, but your whole focus is on what you do is what you have a passion for. All you're doing is talking to somebody about it, finding a way to, does what I have provide a solution to what they need? And sometimes you don't have something that they need. But if you can provide them an outlet to go and find what they need, right? That's what they're going to know you care, which they'll be more likely to come back and buy from you again. So that's kind of the two different approaches. We'll focus more on the customer-focused approach here. There's basically also two types of customers, and how I approach them are very different. So you've heard probably this phrase, or maybe you've heard this phrase, B2C or B2B. What we're meaning is a business to consumer or business to business. And you got to think about who they are. And the key is you got to think about why they might buy. Because what conversation you have with them will be very different. So I'll use a sport example. When I was working in sales, I would sell season tickets to individuals, but I would also sell season tickets to companies. And they use those season tickets for two different reasons. Or if I sold to an individual, they're buying it because they want to take their family out, they love baseball, they love the team, so on and so forth. They're doing it for personal reasons. It is spending their discretionary income, right? In this circumstance. There are some other B2C type of sales that are not using discretionary, but the point is they're doing it for their own personal reasons. A B2B would be not the opposite, would be different. They'd be focusing more on how can I use this as an investment. I sell those season tickets to a company, they might use it to take out clients. So now it becomes a sales generating opportunity for them. And so think about how you interact and who your customer might be will dictate kind of how you have the conversation. So how I start a conversation to go, what do you value? It's either going to be you as a person, a B2C situation, if your customers are individuals buying for their own personal needs, or if it's another business, it's what can I do to help you get a return on your investment for the owners of the company, right? All right, so what I'm going to go through here with the remainder of the slides is these 5 steps. So I know this is very linear and it can be like, well, that's not really how it works. This is theoretical. So what I mean by that is, in general, if you're looking for a step-by-step process of how to go through a sales process with somebody, I'm standing in front of somebody, what do? this could be an approach for you. And it will go, as we go through, it will hopefully jog some interest or questions. So it is also a handout that I've given you. On the very front page of this handout, it has the 5 steps very quickly, 1, 2, 3, or 5. And then it breaks it down to key ideas. And then on the back, I detail that in a separate piece of paper that is established. So you can see very detailed information, some we've already talked about in the introduction. So B2C versus B2B, basic intro. So what I'd like to do is go through each one of these very briefly for the next 10 minutes-ish, just so you can start to think about this, because I'm assuming our panelists will also probably bring up some of the topics throughout this process. In fact, our number 5 is closing. That's what our whole second session is about. So let's jump into it real quickly. There's a lot of writing. I did that so you don't have to take so many notes. Normally I don't do that much writing. But as you go through it, I keep that in mind. So when we talk about the introduction, we're really focusing on starting the conversation before the conversation even begins. Some of it takes pre-planning. So if you're going to a Live After 5 event at the Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce, which is when, Melissa?
It is coming up Thursday.
Tomorrow. So tomorrow, when you all go to the Live After 5, but when you go to some sort of networking event, or you're about to go into a brick and mortar store and say hello to the owner, or whatever it is, a customer walks in your front door that you might have a personal relationship with, you've got to do some pre-work for that. One of them is to think about, if I'm on the phone, do I have a script? If I'm walking in the door, do I have something I want to say? Scripts are helpful because it gives you a prescribed language. Keeps it uniform, everybody that may be working in that entity. But it also gives you a roadmap or a start to the conversation. Okay? Another thing you want to talk about or potentially think about is your CRM. Anybody know what a CRM is?
Customer relationship management.
Yeah, customer relationship management is essentially a system, and there's a wide variety of them that are out there. Some basically an Excel file, it could be a Rolodex, but there's a lot of sophisticated systems out there. But how do I use that CRM system or customer relationship management system to generate information about individuals and leads? So when I call that client, I can go, okay, I've already talked to that client 3-4 times, or somebody else in my business has talked to them because they called in, and I learn more about what they're actually looking for instead of starting over in that conversation every single time. So think about the pre-work you can do with CRMs. If you don't have access to that, that's okay. But if you do, start to do some research on the individual or individuals. When you think about a Live After 5, look at some of the chamber members that you're hoping to go talk to, right? Have the right mindset, right? Think of it as a new opportunity that may or may not come of something. And a lot of people, the psychological literature suggests that especially when you're on the phone, smile while you're talking on the phone. It comes through your voice. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. So think about stuff like that. And then obviously know what the objective of the first conversation really is. You're not going to go into the Live After 5 and most likely close a big deal. Right? You're not going to get on the phone and talk to them for the first time and go, hey, would you buy $100,000 worth of XYZ from me, right? They're not going to do that. But what you're really trying to do is set up a relationship so you can do a follow-up later on. Hey, remember we talked at the Live After 5, and now we're going to go and talk more about your problem and all of that. So introduction, sometimes that first step is really very brief and more informal. Practice your 30-second elevator pitch. We did that here. Practice who are you, what are you all about? That's what people want to know. People like to hear about other people and talk about themselves. And so give an opportunity for that. And be ready for some of the sales anxiety. A lot of times when people don't want to ask for a sale or talk to somebody about sales or a product, it's about the anxiety of, well, what are they going to say? Right? What's the worst thing somebody can tell you? No.
That's the best thing.
Sometimes it's the best thing. What do you say?
Because I like a good no.
Okay, why? Go ahead.
Because then you have to go back. Like it gives you many reasons to go back and figure out what the no is about. Why?
Exactly. So the no is not always about you. And most of the time it's not even has anything to do with you as a person. It might be your product. It might be a no for right now. Yeah, go ahead.
A no is a great opportunity to sell yourself on
Yep.
why you can counter, no, no.
Yep. And we'll get to objections in just a second, but an objection, which would be a no, can happen at any point. It can be literally, I've been hung up on many, many times. I've been cursed out a couple of times along the way too. And that happens. People are not nice, right? Objections can happen the moment you get there. But how do you overcome those? Part of it is to know not to take it too personally. Hey, when you start the conversation, there's really two approaches. I'm not going to get into them in detail because just for time purposes. But how do you start the conversation? Sometimes it's just say, what I've got here is the reason I'm calling you today or coming to talk to you today is to learn more about your experience with our business. Do you have a second to talk about that? Or how does that sound, right? So basically you're setting the agenda and asking for permission to have that conversation. That approach can be detrimental if you're doing cold calling because you're giving them an out. That's just one way to look at it. Another way to think of it is to move directly into questions. Hey, so-and-so, it's great to meet you. Tell me what is a positive experience that you've had with our brand or product in the past. You've now asked them a question that they either can be rude and tell you, no, I don't want to talk to you, or they're now forced to move into the question. But the whole point is how you start the conversation has to be you. It has to be your personality because you're the one that has to be passionate about the product that you're selling, and you're the one having the conversation. So introductions are kind of that base. The second part is now you've got to know them. You now have introduced yourself. Now you've got to get to know them. And so the second step is a needs analysis. Really what it is, it's a process of asking questions and trying to identify what types of issues they may have, because then hopefully you'll be able to find a solution with the product that you sell. It sets the stage also for a customized product recommendation. So you're asking questions to learn more, not just to ask questions and get through it, right? You're asking questions and go, okay, so tell me about you, your situation, how might I be able to help? In a lot of the businesses that I've heard around this table so far today, that's a big part of what you do. You've got to customize that approach. And you cover a lot of different things. So think of this idea. How do you understand what people value? Well, you understand what people value is a little equation here, is that if I have a perceived benefit after a purchase, I'm going to compare that to the cost I paid. Right? Well, in this scenario, this equation, what's always constant? You don't have a lot of control over some of it. It's cost, right? At the end of the day, your company has set a price for the products that you're trying to sell. You might be the one setting those prices. But the point is that, and you may have customization in that, but the price is generally, the cost that they're paying is relatively the same. What does change is how they perceive what they get out of it. And so what your job is to find what benefit do they want. So if you want to have a positive value, that benefit has to outweigh the cost. And so your job as a salesperson is learn what do they want to get out of a purchase so that you can provide that value. And then everything we know says that when they purchase the product and they like it, they value it, it's because that perceived benefit is outweighed the cost. In other words, your job is to create a value proposition. It's trying to show the value, but you have to understand where they're coming from first. Okay? And so, continuing on this idea of what are some best practices for asking questions to learn more. There's a lot of things in here, open-ended questions. Won't get into too much detail, but read through those. If you find anything intriguing, we can talk about it. Well, one technique, if you're like, how do I go about understanding this conceptually? One is what we call SPIN technique, S-P-I-N, situation, problem, implication, and needs payoff. What that is basically doing, and in your detailed description, that's on the second page, second page, you'll see examples of these types of questions. I don't want to throw them here, but essentially, situation is figure out where they are and what relationship they have with your brand, with your products that you make. Problem question is finding what issue may exist. And then implication is what happens when that problem that you identified is not fulfilled. What's the outcome? Kind of implying, hey, there's something that I can do to help you with that. And then the needs payoff is, what if I could help you with that with these products? And that leads you right into the next step, which is really presenting a solution. And a lot of people think sales is all about this. It's all about, and let me just tell you what I've got. That's the product-focused approach. If you're just selling a product, you're really just presenting a solution that you hope that they have a problem with, right? And so presenting solutions, really the challenge here is taking what you've learned in the needs analysis and actually listening to people and finding something that works. You know, sometimes you're not going to find something that your company makes or produces that will fit all of the desires and needs they have. And if you're just honest with them about that, hopefully you're going to find a way to make it work. They're going to be more willing to do that than if you sold a product to them that you knew would not fulfill that need, and they will still have a problem. Well, what happens when they turn around and go, oh, that didn't help me? They're going to tell everybody else that, oh, they just sold me this product that didn't really help them, right? And so think about taking what you've actually learned in the needs analysis and providing a solution that you have. You have to understand also your product's utility. What value are you creating? If you don't know anything about your product, you don't know what benefits it derives, how are you going to explain that to somebody that fulfills their needs? So just something to think about. And so another, if you're like some people, you need to have a contextual framework or conceptual framework to that. The SPEC technique is summarize, present, explain, trial, close. So what that means is essentially, so based on what you've told me, I think I would recommend this product A because it does X, Y, Z and what you were asking about. How does that sound? So based on what you told me, that bottled water is probably what I would recommend for you because you talked about the taste of water and how great it was. How's that sound? That's essentially presenting a solution. Now, that's very basic, but it's an idea to think about. Now, what's going to happen is they're immediately going to not always, but mostly, they're going to have some sort of objection. There's lots of different types of objections. Well, I can't fit that into my schedule. Oh, well, I don't have the budget for that. Or, nah, I don't think that really fits what we're looking for. But really what you've got to think about is, what is the objection really about? And how do you approach the response to that objection? Be empathetic. Hey, I understand where you're coming from. Make sure that you actually understand where they're coming from and where the disconnect might be. Be honest and not in a bad way or aggressive way. Be persistent and go, don't just let it be well, not right now. Okay, thanks, bye. Ask them, okay, well, let's figure out what's going on. That goes back to restarts the cycle of a needs analysis. Maybe I didn't hear everything you were saying, or maybe during the needs analysis, I didn't actually uncover what your actual need might be. So listen, empathize, respond, and then close, and maybe go back into that process. One way that you can do this is a process called feel, felt, found. So feel, felt, found. What this is, step one, is basically you acknowledge the customer's feelings. I can see how you feel. Felt, step two, extend the same feelings to a larger audience. You know, I feel how I can see how you feel. Others have felt the same way, yet they found that this product benefits them, right? I feel, felt, found is a way to think of it like, okay, don't make them feel like they're crazy. This isn't something, hey, now we hear that all the time. Let me tell you about what other customers who were in your same position ended up doing about this and what they ended up choosing. And then the final one is the last step is obtaining commitment. This is basically the close, so to speak. Closing is a mutual experience. It's not something that happens to the customer. I'm going to go close that customer. No, it's a mutual understanding and agreement on what is the next steps. You don't have to engage in a manipulative process if you've actually listened to and provided a solution that fills their need. And a lot of times, closing has a really negative context because you're asking people for money. Well, that's what the whole conversation's about. And again, what's the worst that could happen is no, right? Or you're trying to be a pushy salesperson. Well, that's not the case if you've listened to them and provided a solution they may actually want, right? When to close? It can happen at any point, right? There's been times where I've made a sale that happened 5 minutes after because they were already thinking about the product. They just didn't know which one to choose. I'm like, oh, that was easy. That's great. And then others that take 6 to 9 months because I'm trying to sell a $40,000 sponsorship or whatever it might be, right? It takes time sometimes, but it can happen at any point. It can happen at the end of the 5 steps. It can happen during the needs analysis. And again, those are just conceptual frameworks to think about. But when is a good time to start doing that? Some of the indicators is they start asking more questions about the product. It means they're interested. They're not just pushing you off. Provides a purchase requirement, gives you a positive feedback, answers your trial close questions of, hey, how does that sound? They do that positively. All of these are signs, or agrees, yeah, I do need to do something about that. But really the whole point of having a successful close is having the right recommendation, listening to them, being quiet, being positive, being persistent. All right, so that is, I actually finished that on time. That was crazy. I'm going through it, I'm like, I don't know. Because again, that was about a semester's worth of material. Anyway, that was me talking a lot, so hopefully I didn't bore you too much. What questions do you have, real quick, before we jump into our first panel? Yeah, go ahead.
This moved so fast.
It did.
Or way you can look this up and read.
Yeah, I can send this out. Melissa, do you have a list of all the attendees?
Absolutely.
And so I can send her the PowerPoint and send it out.
Send this to everybody
Yeah.
in this room.
And all my information's up on the board. If you want to set up a call with me and we just have a conversation, happy to do that. That's kind of why we exist at SFA. We're teaching students, but we're also to help the community. That's why I serve in the chamber.
We'll also have the video on the Chamber's YouTube channel.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thoughts? You know, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a quack. It's all right. Well, there's good news. You don't have to listen to me talk too much anymore. We're going to have some panelists here in a second. So what our plan is, let's take a quick break, about 5 minutes to set up our first panel. What we'll do is hear about 12:17. That's it, 5 minutes. If you need the restroom, we're going to have first panel, which is Pitch Perfect, Elevate Your Sales Game and Networking with Patrick Castillo and Ted Smith. So 5 minutes and we'll get started.
This medallion, no, we got a medallion. And it won't hang on the wall, it has to sit on a solid top. Now this is solid top.
I'm going to sit right here next to you, if that's okay. I'm going to sit right here, but...
You gotta watch. Well, you gotta watch whenever he, when in the 25-year club, you gotta watch. That's what I got for other than, the little thing they do with blankets, and we're supposed to go to the game, and we didn't get scratching it or anything like that. So I don't have to worry about screen protector.
I love that, but I couldn't use it because well, I'm not taking mine out. No, I don't take mine out.
No, I take mine out every night. Because then I have to have cable. I don't like cable. I mean, I charge you the cable in the car.
Christmas, it's Christmas. I'm gonna know who Terry Simon is. You do? Oh. But they're in the room. So, what is this? I need the face. You're one of the very first people that registered. Oh.
What is this? Just I made them something. Mine's not that nice. They don't have a box.
All right, we're going to get started in just about 1 minute. And then we'll... All right, let's get started. So for the next about 25-ish minutes, we're going to have a panel, as I said, is really focusing on networking. So how do you use your influence in the business community and building relationships to help you with your revenue producing arm of your business or the sales aspect? And so we've got two of our panelists here who are expert networkers, and so we're going to hear all about them. But I'm going to ask them questions, and it's all about them, so we'll kind of just do this informal. If we go through this process, you have a burning question, just raise your hand. We'll let you guys ask it, okay? Let's get started. So first of all, just a very easy question. So tell us about your business, how you got to where you are, and how you approach sales in your business. Whoever wants to go first.
So my name's Patrick, and Judy had asked me how long I've been with ServPro, and I just realized I've been with this branch for about 14, 15 years. And so ServPro is a nationally recognized brand in the fire and water restoration business. I'd never even heard of them. I didn't know what they were, but I met the owners and I liked them. I thought, well, you know what, let's see what happens, right? And so what we do is, a couple of things. First of all, the best thing I think you talked about was the most important person in your team is your salesperson, right? That's the most, I'm talking about, but I'm not really talking.
They don't know exactly.
But, so for me and my business, I understood it's all about relationship building, right? This guy's the king of it, but I told the franchise owners what we need to do is we need to show people how much we care before they will want to know how much we know. And so we've done a lot of different stuff. Community outreach is important. We network a lot with ISDs. I've got an elementary campus that I just pour into because they were hurting. And so I was like, you know what, there's one thing I can do, I can help give back in the community. So we focused on that. We focused on just being there. So we are B2B and we're B2C because when I see my customer, it's typically, they're not having a good day. Their house burned, they've got water damage, and so you have all the range of emotions, you have everything going at it, and it's tough, it's not easy. You go through all those steps, right, and they all happen, and then they happen again, then they happen in reverse, and then fast forward, but the thing that I focus on the most is relationship building and making sure that, because it's typically three questions they want to ask. Can I trust you? Do you care about me? And can you help me? And if you focus on these three things and not about you, but about them, then you're gold.
That's awesome. Yeah. Don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? That's right. I think that's a Lou Holtz quote.
It goes to a lot of different people, and I'm not sure, but I read a lot of John Maxwell, and he's got a bunch of good stuff in there. But it's true. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Austin, and there was a tech week, and they had lots of venture capitalists. They had all this stuff, and so they had marketing stuff, they had sales stuff, and I thought, ooh, let's see what the latest and greatest is. And you know what it all came back to? Relationship building, networking, going to events. And I thought, here these people are, and they're all these fancy towns and all these big this, that, and the other. And here in little old Nacogdoches, Texas, this chamber rocks it out of the park. They do a great job because they give us all an opportunity to show up and be buddies with somebody.
Yeah.
Great. I'm Ted Smith. I'm completing my 7th year as a State Farm agent here in Nacogdoches. Prior to State Farm, I was a director of development for athletics at SFA. So again, it was a lot of team building, networking, a lot of relationship building, and
Tell your story.
Questions. You want my story?
No,
okay.
I remember when you won Small Business of the Year.
Yeah, so I'm a past chairman.
And your story.
I didn't know how the
Yeah, you're good. No, your story. I remember you telling the story how you became an agent and you were talking, and it was built off of networking. Right?
It 100% was. So, like I said, when I was development director of athletics, you're all about relationships because you're asking people to donate money getting nothing in return, but a pat on the back, a fuzzy feeling. They're not getting a cog or a bell or a whistle. I mean, it's all about generous donations. So I used to put together a dove hunt with some of my top boosters and a few of the coaches, and we were down in South Texas on a dove hunt, and one of the guys, a guy named Jimmy Bergman out of Tyler, Texas, who's a State Farm agent, he and I are just hanging out. We're shooting birds and having lemonade, and I know what y'all drink on your dove hunt? Lemonade, right?
No, I'm done with you.
Oh, that's right, he has, all right, I'm busted. Anyway, so we're just having a good time, and I'm asking him how he's doing, and Jimmy's telling me about State Farm. And we spent the whole time talking about it, and I'm like, golly, that sounds like something I want to do, you know? And he opened the door for me, introduced me to a sales leader, and next thing I know, I'm on the path to become an agent. And about a year and a half later, I got my agency and haven't looked back. But I will tell you, and I said this at my acceptance speech for my award, but 50+% of all the business I wrote that year one was relationships with members of the chamber. Maybe more. You know, it's hard to calculate all that, but having a Live After 5, having back then we used to have a member meeting, having all these different events, being on committees. I was on 6 or 7 different committees before I even got on the board. And then you get on the board and you work hard, and you do more and more. Then next thing you know, you're on the executive board, and then you're a chairman, and had a great time. And it just kept opening doors, building relationships. And I knew this much about insurance when I got started. Literally, I knew how much my deductible was. I knew who to call if I needed to make a claim. That was about it. You know, just like most everybody in this room. I knew who to gripe out and bitch out, excuse my language, when my rates went up, right?
That's you. No.
Just me now. That's right. No, that's Cliff in my office. You call me when your rates go down. But anyway, man, I went down a rabbit hole and I forgot it. But anyway, golly, I was about to make a really good point.
I bet it'll come back. Let me ask you another question.
Go for it.
So this session's about networking. You kind of touched on that. Can you give specific examples of how networking has helped you in your business and sales?
So I just said it. 50% of the business we wrote literally in year one was from a chamber, from a networking entity. And I'm a relationship guy, I'm an event guy, I like to host events. If you haven't been to my crawfish bowl in April, everybody raise your hand. Who else been there? Yeah, there we go, about half the room, 2/3 maybe.
And a Live After 5 event.
It isn't a Live After 5, it's a lot of fun. We have anywhere from 250 to 300 people.
Lots of lemonade.
It's just, I don't need lots of lemonade from R&K. Yeah, R&K distributors, thank you guys, appreciate all your help. I'm pointing at the camera. Mary's like, what, where are they? There's a bar in the back. But those guys are beneficial, and building those relationships, having those events were huge networking for my team.
Yeah, what you guys?
So I'm gonna jump over right what he was saying. So, in front of you, I'm gonna ask you a favor, right? So, referral business, word of mouth at this tech conference was huge, right? And I thought, man, these guys they're talking about this when all this other stuff is going on. So I saw this the other day, and it's like how to support your friend, how to support your small business, right? That's what we all are. We're all small businesses. And so in today's world, a Google review is the 21st century lifeblood of that small business owner, because when somebody's looking for a good or service, you know, can they trust you? Can you help them? All this stuff. If Mary has given me a review, and Mary knows everybody, and you know Mary, but you don't know me, you look at that and you go, you know what? They're good enough for Mary, they're good enough for me. So I'm gonna ask you this. I put everybody's QR code on here. Give somebody a review. Do it today. And as a gift, right, so that's my ask. And as a gift, I will give you guys this book. So this book is done by a friend of mine. The first book's published. He does leadership training. He's a director of Boys and Girls Club in Longview, and super awesome guy. But you know, it's all about leadership. But when you're doing B2B or B2C, that customer is looking for you to lead them to a result, lead them to a winning result, to help them help them either get their stuff done easier, and all the like. But anyway, back to the networking. This is it. I mean, if you're not a member of the chamber, definitely want to be a member of the chamber. If you haven't taken the opportunity to be in leadership NAC,
That's how we met.
So, best class ever, look.
There you go.
Caroline.
Sweet Caroline. Just for saying, we raised like $27,000 for our project, right? Number one.
And it's right out here.
It's right out front. That's right. That's right. Huh?
Not everything's about money.
Yes, it is. It makes the pro go round.
But I tell you what, you'll meet the friends you meet, you keep them for life. If you go to a networking event, you see somebody standing by themselves, go sit up next to them, go talk to them, go visit with them. If you're going to a networking event, ask somebody. If you want to network with somebody, let's say you've got somebody you want to do business with, call them, invite them. Look on their Facebook page, look on their Instagram page, look on their LinkedIn page. See how you can maneuver yourself to something that they want to do and invite them along, right? It's always easier when you have your friend or somebody you know that says, hey, come along to this fun thing, right?
Before he goes to the next question, I want to piggyback one thing he just said, where he talked about networking at an event. There's a lot of young people in here as well. Don't be intimidated to go up to someone at an Alive After 5. We are all there to meet people. So don't be intimidated to walk up and say, hi, I'm Susie Q with XYZ Company, because they want you to. And then let them introduce themselves and get them to talk a little bit and you get to know them. But I'm telling you, everybody at those Alive After 5, some of them getting their little clicks, some of them are doing their own little thing. They want you to come talk to them. Just walk right up and say, hey, how are you? I'm so-and-so. Trust me.
And I tell you
I was
what,
gonna add real quick, in that, if you have a hard time walking up to somebody and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, put yourself at a table with nobody else there and see who comes and sits by you and get to know those people, because then eventually you'll feel a little more comfortable. I still do that.
Yeah.
I go at the end of the room that nobody's around and see who sits by me.
Yeah. So she networks organically. You know, she sits down and has some empty seats and she lets them come to her. So that's great. That's great, Mary.
Well, he piggybacked, but that was really the next question.
No.
So we've got a Live After 5 event tomorrow, and then that one, where are we? Excel, that's right. I was like, E something. And I wonder
That's
what
right
they
next
take.
door, right?
Yeah, so, yeah, right next door. So Excel, and then in December we have NAC Space. We have a date for that?
December 5th.
Santa Claus will be at that one too.
That's right, that's a good one.
Santa's usually there.
And so they're all good. But let's talk about Alive After 5 events, or events like that. Kind of what is your approach to, all right, I get out of the car, I'm at the event, what do you do? And how do you develop relationships? I know you said go meet people you don't know, but sometimes it's not that easy. What's your approach to a Live After 5 event? Do you prep for it? Any of those types of things?
You know, dress professionally, wear a name tag. Not everybody has a name tag, but if you got one, go ahead and get it. If not, at one of these events, the chamber provides one. Put your name on there. It makes it a little easier for some people that don't remember names. I'm pretty good with names, but not great at it. So if I can glance down and see someone's name, it really helps take some pressure off of me, and it puts more dialogue in our conversation. You know, I would definitely go greet the host. The host has spent some money, has spent some time, they've done some legwork to get you there and want to entertain you. Be sure and say thank you to the host. That's going to open another door for you, because chances are that host is going to be talking to 2 or 3 other people, and organically you should be able to get introduced to those people as well. So just go up and introduce yourself, tell them who you are, and then as you've been there for 20, 30 minutes, you kind of stress level comes down a little bit. You've had that first lemonade, maybe you started on your second one. You know, and if you're going to host an event, if you're a small business owner in this room, host an Alive After 5. It's not cheap, it's not free, but you will get your return on investment. I will always do an Alive After 5 because the ROI on it outweighs what that cost is. Now, I do an expensive one. I'm dropping $5,000, $6,000 on Alive After 5, but you know what?
we appreciate it.
That's right. That's right. We're getting it.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm Jim Baker's wife. I don't know if you remember
Yes, ma'am.
We as a cottage industry online, and we're not a member of the chamber yet, with life. How would you do a live after 5 for online business?
You can answer that one, go ahead.
It's easy, you can just throw it at an event center around town, it doesn't have to be at your business.
That's true.
Yeah, or at the chamber.
Yeah. You could probably do it in this room.
You could also partner with a couple of other small
Yes.
cottage
Yes.
companies and do an Alive After 5 together.
So that's perfect, because I have partnered with this guy, I've partnered with Commercial Bank, I've partnered with Ship Law Firm, and it helps first with some of the costs. But if one of those 2 or 3 people have a location, you're just piggybacking with them and you're reaping the reward. You don't have to clean up as much from this.
Crawfish is dirty, right?
Crawfish is dirty. We do crawfish. We're kind of becoming the crawfish people. I don't know why it happened. I like crawfish. I like the month of April, and I'm like, all right, we're doing crawfish forever at the chamber at 5
Yeah, just go.
He's at every event there is. Lufkin, Longview, Nacogdoches, you name it. So he can tell you.
Just go, wear a name tag, yep, because you can see somebody, you appreciate it, and if they've spent money on food, eat some food, drink some drink, because they don't wanna look at it all and go, I gotta put all, yeah, right? Have a good time. If you know one person, you're the host, and say, hey, I don't know anybody, can you introduce me to somebody? People love to help people. But yeah, just go, oh, my little friend, she got a question.
Not gonna answer.
Yeah.
Be uncomfortable.
Be
Like,
uncomfortable.
don't take your best friend and just hang out with your best friend and don't do anything else. Be uncomfortable. I've done both, you know. I love taking my best friend everywhere, right? She's the party and she's fun. But then I don't get near as much accomplished. So don't go with your best friend. Definitely be uncomfortable.
And let me tell you,
Good
right,
advice.
so she just hit 10 years with us, so congratulations. Candace Dodd's a little firecracker, a little dynamo, right, and so when she tells you be uncomfortable, yeah, that's a good thing, right? So she goes out and meets new people, you know, sometimes I have to say, hey, no, not that, no, not okay, right? But yeah, I mean, it is, again, it's the easiest way to get behind around the gatekeeper. It's the easiest way to get somebody on a neutral turf. And it's the easiest way to get to somebody that's more inclined to have a conversation with you that you might not otherwise have that opportunity.
So I know we've got themes, right, of these sessions. This first one's about networking, next one's about closing the sale. I want to open it up. I know that may not be the topics you're interested in. We've got another 5 to 10 minutes. I've got another question. Is there any questions about sales in general that you have for this group? Yeah, go ahead.
It's mainly for Patrick, since you do go to every event ever. How do you weigh events, community things versus cold calling, door knocking, that type of thing?
Events are more fun.
Yeah, that's true. If you go to this event right here, right, how many people in here? 30. Okay, if you go to one cold call, there you go. I'm not a math wizard, but.
Well, yeah, well, this would be, in our world, this is considered a warm lead. You're meeting someone face to face, you're shaking hands, you're talking to them. Cold call, that's a cold lead, because half of them are gonna hang up, you know, and then you got about 30 seconds to sell yourself over the phone. So cold calls can be tough. They're necessary in every business, every sales business, but they can be tough. Anytime you can get in an event like this, or Live After 5, or even a ribbon cutting, do it. Warmly.
To piggyback on that, whose time do you treat as more valuable, yours or potential clients? If they-
So the textbook answer would be, the client's time is more important.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, my time is pretty important. You know, I do a lot of stuff with my kids, my family. I deer hunt a lot. Sorry. But, no, I'm not apologizing. I hunt. Sorry. I'm still not apologizing. But it's just tougher. I mean, you gotta manage your time well.
So I'm gonna tell off on myself, right? So there's another event that I had already scheduled, table and the whole bit, but I did that a year ago. And so that's happening today. So I had somebody else fill in for that because I wanted to be here, because they asked me to, and I thought, you know what, yes, I want to be here. So yeah, how do you weigh it, right? Whose time is more valuable? Everybody's time is valuable. But, so if I thought, hey, I can provide more value here versus there, because there I'm just gonna be one of the crowd, and yes, I'll see some people, but I can always see some people. Versus here, where, hey, I get the opportunity to give back and share, and meet some other people, right? So my friend's got a.
Yeah, Candace had her.
One thing one thing that I would like to ask is, Ed, volunteering, has that done anything for your business?
Yes,
Volunteering in
absolutely.
any, whatever board you sit on?
Yeah.
We have a meeting Monday, I'm gonna volunteer him for something.
A lot that is much different than volunteering,
Volunteering, yeah.
But how does that impact your business, just volunteering locally and things that you wholeheartedly believe in?
So what I've noticed for the, when I volunteer for somebody or something or some entity, specifically a 501c3, for example, we had our Nacogdoches Hero Foundation. I serve on that board. We had our banquet last Thursday. We raised over $100,000. I'm doing that because I want to help our veterans and first responders. That is first and foremost in my mind. How can I help my community? And these are the guys, men and women that protect our lives, risk their lives. We owe it to them. We owe it to do what we can for them. But I wouldn't be a good business owner if the back of my mind I wasn't thinking, hey, how can I network with this? How can I meet some more people? So when I got up there last Thursday, I'm gonna go ahead and be a little vulnerable right now. We did this thing called the paddle auction. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know I was doing it. We thought the auctioneer was doing it. I'm sitting there at the banquet. I know I'm in charge. I'm kind of the chair of fundraising, and I'm sitting there and I see it on the big board, like, oh, paddle auction. I'm just kind of looking over at the auctioneer, and I'm like, well, he's not getting up. So I started kind of walking that way, and he's still not getting up. And now the Jason Bradford, our chairman of the board, president of the board, looks at me, and I'm like, oh crap, I guess I'm on. So I proceed to go up there, grab the microphone, and I freaking nailed it. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. I started off slow, we're like, hey, who wants to give some money? And then people started giving money. And next thing you know, I'm running like a dang idiot through the stands, through the chairs, through the tables, and $27,000 later in net revenue for our veterans and first responders was huge, huge impactful. But to answer her question, I knew a third or half of the people in there from other events. So I was able to call their name out when they donated 1,000 or 500 or 250. And I met more people there. I had people coming up saying, hey, great job, thank you so much, I'm so-and-so, you know, and you just gotta, it's a snowball. You start real small and then boom, 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 and it just grows. And you just,
find people that care about the same things you care about.
There you go.
And that
I was
that
getting
whole
there.
relationship, so when I show up at your office, I can say,
That's
hey,
right.
remember the
You
hero
build that
Month?
common ground, and if you're in several different charities or organizations, that's just more people you can build relationships with, because you have something in common.
You did a good job for,
Thank you. I was totally winging it. First time I'd ever done that. Oh well, it worked.
When you go to these networking events, how do you turn networking with someone into a sale? For instance, we have a property management company. I'm sure most people in this room already have homes to live in or have purchased something potentially. So how do you take a service or a product that you provide and make it a seed in their mind for
Yeah.
later for somebody who might not be needing that at this moment?
You want me to go first?
I think one, be impactful, right? Typically, you're typically one person away from getting in the group that you want to get with, right? And so maybe you're talking to me and I've got kids who maybe need an apartment, right? Or I may know somebody. And so in my head, the people that stand out, and because I'm always thinking, how can I bring people together? How can I help somebody, right? Ooh, she's in Nacogdoches, she got apartments. Ooh, she's pretty nice. Ooh, I think they got good property, right? And so if I know somebody, you're gonna be top of mind. But if we talk and it doesn't happen, that's okay, right? Because you talk to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But always still try to, it's not all about me, right? have that, if you have that, I think if you have that mentality, then people see it and they appreciate it and they can always go, you know what? Yeah, they can help me.
Yeah, top of mind awareness, TOMA. It's really hard to make a sale on a relationship somebody just built. But if there's people that you meet and you meet again and you see again and you've talked to them and you build a relationship, eventually they're gonna need to look for a house or an apartment. Eventually they're gonna need insurance. And they met me a year and a half ago and now, hey, man, Progressive went up on the rates again. I know we just talked a year ago, can you give me a quote? So you may not close them right away, but that top of mind awareness puts you in their mind, and then when they need your product or your service, you're who they think about.
You know, it's interesting what you're saying, because my wife and I didn't purchase our travel agency franchise until just within the last, well, in 24. She was a school teacher, and she just recently retired in May. But that was something that we knew that we wanted to do for a long time. And we started planning this several years ago, and we slow-rolled it to make sure we found what fit for us worked. But we were initially kind of, I guess, worried that we were at a little bit of a disadvantage because we were getting into this later in life. Okay, she retired in May. We actually purchased the franchise in February of 24, but she didn't want to start it until she was out of school and she didn't, all that. But what was initially a concern for us of getting into it at a little bit more mature age, we turned it around and have found out that because we are more mature than some people, that was an advantage because we have spent a lifetime building friendships already. And we have always loved to travel. And all of our friends know that to begin with. So we were able to go ahead and kind of build on that, already have a little bit of a platform to stand on. And we've had tremendous success with that. Yeah. I mean, just, taking what we initially thought was going to be a disadvantage into kind of, I guess, turning grapes into wine. So
That's great.
One more question, then I'll ask you a final follow-up question, then we'll have a break. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you talked about already knowing all of these people at these networking events. How do you go about growing your audience and finding just generating leads pretty much?
You got to have a lot of rods in the fire. You need to have more than one technique. You need to have more than one advertising, more than one marketing. Networking is just one of, say, 5 different ways to grow your business. I think it's the most impactful because it's that warm lead, it's not a cold lead, but you need to be, Google reviews, you need to be doing that kind of stuff. You need to be purchasing online advertising. There's a lot of different stuff. You need to be having something on the radio. Scott Goodrich, who used to run RMK Distributors, Budweiser, everybody knows Budweiser. I asked him once when I got started, I said, man, how do I handle this marketing and advertising? He goes, do a lot. He goes, don't do one thing and expect to get all your results. He said, do 4 or 5. So that someone's driving to work, they hear you on the radio, there's a billboard, they see your billboard. You run into them at a Live After 5, they see you there. Maybe someone else talked about you or gave you a referral. The referrals are freaking amazing. If you can get a referral because you did someone right. I mean, you do those 4 touches on any one person and trying to sell your product or service to, then that just better puts you in a position to receive that person or to bring them to funnel. Think of a funnel. 5 or 4 different techniques to funnel them to you is what I do.
Ditto.
There you go.
So, final follow-up question. We've got a couple minutes to run through this again. What advice that we haven't talked about? What do you want to end with? What is your message you want to send?
For the business owners, I'm gonna say this, and this is just a cold hard fact. You need to hire slow, take your time, be methodical. You need to do your due diligence on this person that you're gonna hire, but you need to fire fast. If you're hiring sales, I'm talking about sales. I'm not talking about a service person. I'm not talking about somebody that's gonna do your online reviews. I'm talking about sales. Take your time, find someone, check their credentials, check their references, But if they're not cutting the mustard and they're costing you money and they're not adding your bottom line, fire fast. That's my big advice on that. And I'll say this, because I've had about 27 employees in 7 years, and I'll give them all about 3 months to do it, and if they can't get it, hey, it just wasn't meant to be.
Tell you what, sales is not for everybody,
That's right.
right? I like that, hire fast, fast to fire, right? But you know if they're gonna do it, if they're not gonna do it. Again, Candace, she's been here 10 years with me.
And I didn't want this job. He said, so. I said no.
And
I said, I can't do that.
15 other people have come and gone, right? It's not for everybody, but I will tell you, I just finished this book, what is it, Unreasonable Hospitality. And one of the quotes in there was, never waste adversity, okay? And so if you are in the marketing game, if you are in the sales game, one of the things that I like to say is, you gotta have amnesia, right? So you did everything right, you went and it just didn't work out, that's okay. Go on to the next one. So ServPro, we do a lot of marketing, a lot of advertising, just like State Farm. And so we're partners of the PGA. And so right now we've got this thing, we've got this mulligan ball, right? And it's like, hey, right, if you do something, I'm gonna give you permission. If it doesn't work out, take a mulligan, relax, and go do it again. So during the intermission or whatever, I've got one for maybe for everybody, maybe not, but come and see me, and it's kind of fun.
I would take it, but I'm gonna lose it. It's gonna be. I'm a deer hunter, not a golfer. But he's right about that. Candace came in 10 years ago. I didn't know that until recently, but cream rises to the top. And you find your top salespeople. For employees here that are not business owners, that business owner is taking a risk on you. He or him or her is spending money on you. Give them a return on investment. Work your tail off. Be the first one in. Be the last one to leave. Make that good first impression. And if he tells you to call 50 people today, call 75. I got 3 college students, and all 3 of them have taken his class. And they're my top 3 guys. They only work about 20, 25 hours a week, but they are machines. I mean, you say call 50, they call 75. You say quote 5 households a day, they quote 7. You say write 2 or 3 policies a day, they're writing 5. You just got to find those people that are willing to work and willing to commit. And if you're not a business owner, be that person for them. Be that top salesperson for them.
My first biggest piece of advice that ever worked for me, because I love to talk a lot, was be bright, be brief, and be gone. Because I would get stuck in a rut where I was just talking. I forgot to be quiet. And so I was like, oh crap, I gotta be bright and be brief and be gone. So I gotta be brief, okay, shut up. That was probably the best advice I ever received.
Awesome. Help me thank our panel today. So I forgot to mention earlier, and by the way, while I was sitting here, I got a text that my State Farm bill was about to pass. Perfect timing, right?
It's actually going down.
You too? Yeah. So it's like, give him a panel and he charges me money. Anyway, thank you guys for being here for this session. I forgot to say earlier, thank you to the city for letting us have this room. They technically weren't a sponsor, but they helped us with our site today, so thank you so much to them. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, so 12:55 we'll come back and have our second panel.
That's so funny. That is so funny. I just drove in straight from Dallas to our fall planning conference. So I got to have breakfast on this stuff. Never going to them, and all that to come here. I committed to this because they have things like that. Oh, yeah. Not Trump president, huh? The Rotary president?
Doing them together.
No, I got, this will be fine, unless you got one extra.
You wanna trade yours for mine?
No, give it to my son, so he can. You know, talking to Steve Westbrook, he served. He told Baker did it so well, you know. Randy and Jimmy, I know it's hard for Jimmy got ran through the ringer. You're right, Mayor. I don't know why. I think we're big enough town.
Jason.
So sorry. Do you still teach sports marketing?
I do.
Okay, so I can say this now. Totally threw up in the back of that bus.
Which one?
Rangers game, Boston Red Sox and Rangers.
That was what?
Full party day so long ago.
Like 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, at least I didn't know about it. You weren't near me when it happened.
Their job, one. So, makes it easier for them to all that. Great job.
Let's do it. Ready, Judy?
see Andy doing that. It's so redneck.
Now, this is hardly hanging on.
All right. Well, let's get back to it. We've got one more session. I promise we'll be done at 1:30 as planned. I want to say a couple things before we get started. First of all, there's still water in the back. I just got one, so there's a few more for our college students that are on a limited income probably, or whomever else. There's actually some food in the back still, so if you want to take something home or grab a second lunch, go for it, because I think it will go to waste if you don't. So grab those. We'll have time at the end, obviously, for you to mix and mingle and network. But I'd like to start us off on the next panel. In a second, Melicia's going to pass out a survey. We want to know what you thought about today, the format, the topic, all of those things. Like I said, we do these business seminars basically every quarter. We've done a finance one, we've done a marketing one, we've done a social media one. Those are the most recent ones, sales today. We're looking for two things. One, your feedback on today. Did we like the format? How could we change it? But then also, how can we go about finding new topics that are of interest to you and for your company? So on that survey that Melicia's going to pass out here in just a little bit, it'll have all that on there. So please, please, please fill that out. All right, well, let's jump into our second session, which today is focused on sales, closing the sale. Focusing on that aspect. But as with our last panel, I'd like for you all to just kind of introduce yourself and your background, kind of how you got to where you are today in your company. So Caroline, I'll let you start.
All right. So I'm Caroline Garner. I'm with Nacogdoches Area United Way. And I started with United Way actually 10 years ago. I am an accountant also, so shout out to the accountant in the room. It can lead to all sorts of things. I started with the numbers tell the story. I wanted to get more into telling the story. I got into the programs at United Way and eventually grew into the CEO role, which I've been at for almost 2 years now.
You're also on our board of the chamber.
And I am on the board of directors of the chamber. Jason, that is correct. I'm the treasurer for the chamber, using those accounting skills somehow to make an impact. So yes, I love what the chamber does for the community. And United Way, FYI, was nonprofit of the year. It's about 5 years ago or so. We were the second nonprofit of the year, so we're very proud to have had that distinction. Probably wondering a little bit about what United Way is or does. So we are a part of United Way Worldwide, which actually got its start in Denver, Colorado in 1887. It was an effort to match resources to needs in the community. It worked so well that it spread across America, became United Way America, then eventually United Way Worldwide. We are all around the world, but the beauty of our organization is that we are locally responsive. Every local United Way exists to address needs in our particular community. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's what I sell, basically, is the opportunity to make a difference in the community. We function under the assumption that people do want to make a difference, that we all want to help our neighbors. So our challenge in selling is that we are not selling a physical item. So it's a little bit different for us. We have to paint the picture of what it is that is needed and what it's going to do for the individual. And basically it's a feel-good thing. Like I said, we operate under the assumption that we all want to help our neighbors. It's something that we are passionate about, and we try to convey that passion. That's important. And for me, I have that experience in my job. I hear from both sides of the equation, people who have been in need, and United Way agencies have helped them get on their feet, and then they have the opportunity to give back. Or other people who have been donors to United Way and then come on hard times, a layoff or whatever, and all of a sudden they need the services. So I see this is how it's all supposed to work. It's very circular. We help each other that way. So I'm passionate about it. I've sold to myself successfully. I'm a United Way donor. I haven't taken out of my paycheck, go back into the fund for the agency. So I consider it my job to give other people the same opportunity to do so.
Awesome. Yep.
I'm Janelle McDonald. I'm the Director of Operations for Three Skies Management and Square Real Estate Solutions. So we manage here in Nacogdoches the Californian, Taliesin, Russian River, and Magnolia apartments. And we're proud to do so. So if you're ever looking for an apartment, come see us. We're always going to say that. We pride ourselves on being excellent managers, taking care of our residents. When someone asks us why should we live here, I encourage my staff to say, because I work here. I don't work anywhere else, and I know I'm gonna take care of you. And it makes me proud that my staff honors that every single day. And all of them are in the room today that work in this area, so make sure you say hi to them. I'll call them all out individually later. I've been with this company for 11 years. It's been in Nacogdoches for 17 years. And 3 years ago, we expanded all over the state of Texas with Square Real Estate Solutions, which is our third-party management company compared to the owner-operated side. So we're happy to take our philosophies of management to other owners that are struggling. It's an investment, it takes time, and we enjoy it, so I look forward to sharing with you our perspective today.
I'm Judy McDonald. I started my real career strictly as a volunteer. My husband used to say, PTA is the ruining of a lot of good women. I found out in working in PTA that one person that is totally determined can make a tremendous amount of difference. Sometimes it was taking a lot of no's and losing some elections on the school boards and air conditioning schools and whatever, but I did learn that if you're committed, if you're truly committed, you can change the world. And by the way, Janelle and I have just discovered, she says she gets asked all the time, she's related to me. I tell her, if they like me, that's the first question. Second, if they do, say yes. This is the first time we've met. And United Way, that was one of the things that I worked very hard in. It ended up, you go from drive chairman and then you get to be the president. But one of the things I learned there, when you tell people, it's one thing for me to write you a check for $100, and I think, oh, and I watch this, and they think they've done a really good thing. But you go into places like Eaton and you say, will you put me on your payroll? Will you give me $5 a week? $5 a week adds up to a whole lot more than $100 a year. And those people were the people who understood that they were one paycheck away from needing your services, or they knew somebody who needed it. But it was also my opportunity to give to you when I couldn't be there, when that person, every one of us in this room, anytime somebody that we run across needs help. Someone was telling me a while ago about helping a man with his books a while ago. Yes, you helped the man get his books in the car a while ago. Well, had that man fallen and needed a meal, she could have provided it, and you'd been glad to do it. But you wouldn't be there at the meal, but you can give her the money, and she makes it happen. So being a good, strong volunteer in my life, which is, I had the good fortune of not having to earn my paycheck, even though I did, but that's put my husband through school for 5 years to get his PhD, Dr. McDonald at the university. But after that, I didn't have to work. So it gave me an opportunity to be more vocal, to fight the battles. A lot of them were, I lost. But it didn't keep me from getting back up again. My background has been, and the thing I liked doing the best was creating jobs. I worked for NEDCO at the end. I didn't go to work for NEDCO until I was 59 and a half. And came home after 6 months and told Mike, I said, you know what? I finally found something I know how to do. But when I was serving in the city and doing city government stuff, my greatest joy was job creating. And so when I went to work for NEDCO, my first big win in 1998 was E-Tech. And the way we closed that deal is a story in its own. So I'm glad to be here, and more importantly, I'm so glad y'all are here, because that means this community is going to be better because of what you've learned today.
Awesome. So this session is about closing the deal. What does that mean to you in your situation, in your business? What's closing the deal mean?
Well, okay.
In whatever order, whoever wants to go first.
Sure. So closing the deal for United Way is to give the donor the tools to be able to to give back for us, basically. Sometimes like Judy mentioned, it's gonna be inside a workplace campaign, which we do at pretty much all the large organizations. ETech, just finished a United Way campaign, thank you, and Eaton, and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, and thank you for your shout out to United Way and for your past service to United Way, by the way. But it's not always the case, you know, if you have donors who are outside, then just how do we reach the individuals? And these days there are so many different wonderful options, whether just going on our website and doing something, we give through Facebook or whatever. So we have those ways of just to offer, to see them where they are, to make it convenient for them, because that's really the beauty of United Way. If people want to give back, they want to give to health, education, financial stability, the senior center, the food pantry, the Boys and Girls Club, et cetera, but they're not going to necessarily take the time to go around to all these agencies, figure out which ones, first of all, are performing well in their mission, and second of all, how do I get the money to them, or am I going to spread it out over time versus this lump sum that's not as comfortable for me. That's what we do at United Way. Basically, we just try to make it easy for people to just pay into the pool, and then we take it from there. We reevaluate the agencies every year, and we've got to get that message out too, that every year we decide, we being a committee of 20 plus volunteers per our bylaws, not the staff member, decide where the money is needed in our community, and reevaluate every year, and then from there, okay, then just trust us that we've gone through this process, and this is how you can do it, and just turn it over, pay into our fund, and we will get it out to these 20 partner agencies in Nacogdoches that are impactfully making a difference. But for us also, it's like I say, meeting, a good example, I think of meeting the donor, you know, however it's most convenient for him. I was in a conversation at an event with Aggies, by the way. It was our annual muster, and so, yeah. So, well, I love what you do at United Way, but I don't have my checkbook with me. It's too bad. I just have a credit card. Well, I happen to have the square. Oh, all right, then I knew it. So that's how we close it. We're ready, however it needs to happen.
I think oftentimes we associate closing to like the end product, right? So like in our industry, it's like getting the deposit, getting them signed to sign a lease, moving them in, getting their rent, you know, it kind of like well, which one is closing? And so what we realize in our industry is we close in the follow-up. So we're not always going to get the sale the first time. So we have to meet them where they are. And they could be at the start of the conversation where they have no idea how to lease an apartment, and we're there educating them so they have better questions for our competitors. And so what we focus with on our team is celebrate the little wins, and closing is you being in the driver's seat of knowing your profession to guide them as far as they can go until they say, I'm good, I need more time. Or this works, where do I sign, right? But celebrating the wins along the way. Some people, all you get is a smile, right? As they pass by and you're making that impression. Other people, you're gonna get those contact name, phone number, email. Oh, I could do so much with that. Other people they're like, I'm ready to sign, I just need to get this money in order, my deadline is next week. But it's celebrating those wins along the way and seeing that each one of those is closing because it's a long-term relationship.
Getting to closing on a deal, and Mayor Francis can give you more update on that than I, but if you, getting there in economic development business sometimes takes 2 years. What you don't know, because you don't read it in the paper about the phone calls and the extra hours that are spent trying to put those deals together, and you don't win them all. And you always have to be prepared not to win, but you go into it knowing you can. And if you're trying to sell any kind of a widget, that you go in saying, I can do this, and you believe in the product, you've got to do that, you know. We believe in Nacogdoches. The second thing is that when you are meeting with them, you've got to figure out what it is they want, and those were good questions since I watched the previous group and your presentation. You got to know what they are needing. The second thing is you've got to be able to convince them that you can provide that need. If you can't, walk away to start with. When you get to the end of the deal, everybody's got to win. And when you're negotiating and you're trying to bring a large industry to this community, there are a lot of things they want to know. Can you imagine one time that one of the people wanted to know, did you meet your United Way goal? And how many years have you done that? Did you pass your last bond issue? They want to know about your community. Now, in y'all's business, I'm not sure they want to know about the community, but what they do want to know is about you, because they want to know if you're going to be dependable when they place that order with you. Are you going to do follow-up, and will you care at the end of the day if the product held up? Whether that's the apartment, or whether you're providing the services that the community thinks they need. But you've got to win, but they have to win. And if you don't, you're going to fail. If you don't fail with that customer, you may sell that customer. But boy, one of the things I learned in the savings and loan business, they said if you do it right, somebody's pleased, they'll tell 3 people. If you do it wrong, they'll tell 11. That's the statistic. So it's whether you want the 3 or the 11.
So, and Janelle, I'll let you start with this one. This question is about, you've heard the phrase asking for the sale. So what is it, how do you approach your ask? How do you go about asking for the sale in your role?
We cause them to identify their own timeline. If people, a lot of times it's create a sense of urgency depending on what your industry is. In my industry, I don't want to catch them with a special or make a decision lightly. It's their home. It's a binding contract. It can mess up their credit severely. It can affect the rest of my community. And it's a lot of money every month. On average, anyone's rent is about 1/3 of their income. It's a lot of money. And so I need to understand what their deadline is, and if they don't have one, encourage them to make one based off of the other things that might affect them later. A lot of times we're dealing with students, especially in Nacogdoches, where they're like, oh, I don't need to move in until the fall, so I'm not gonna make a decision until July. Sweetie, all the units are gonna be gone. I know that it's March and it's April and it's February, but you need to make a decision if you can in the next couple of weeks so you get the option that you want and not the option that you have to take, right? So it's the education, but it's also getting them to identify their timeline helps us do the ask of, are you ready to pay that deposit? Are you ready to put in that application?
Judy?
Well, at the end of the day, you're back to the win-win, but you also, we did E-Tech. Guy I was dealing with was such a horse's tail. Every time he called, it was with the CB Realty out of Arizona. Every time he called, the head person answered the phone and said, Judy, it's that man again. He didn't believe anything I said on the phone. I got the head of the Texas Employment Agency at the time to tell him, yes, we can provide 300 jobs. And there is an employment market here. And everything I would say, he would come back and say, well, that can't be true because. And so it was constant proving the questions. I didn't have to pull the questions out of him. All I had to do was make sure that I had the resources to refer him or to get them on the line with us. And getting them in the E-Tech, it's the best example I've got of that. There were 26 different cities competing for E-Tech, and it came down actually between Tyler and Nacogdoches. And we didn't have any money to put on the table, still don't, because we don't have the economic development tax that most cities do. But Tyler doesn't either. But they did have more resources. But what I did was I put the people in the room, the city, the county, the electric people, Texas Power Line at that time. We had the gas people, we had the construction people, and in fact there were like 10 of us. And we just had that guy from Arizona and Chuck Smith, who was going to be the decision maker primarily as to what city they were going to. And I got all those people in the room, and then we gave them a list of do's and don'ts. Said, don't try to tell them something they don't want, or that you want to convince them of. You ask them what they want, and then you say, as the electrical provider or as the construction person, what you can do, and don't promise anything you can't deliver. That's happened to me once. But don't promise something that you cannot deliver like next week. And the other thing is, if what we sometimes think is an advantage. I mean, we think that, say, oh, you know, well, one of our examples was, yeah, it's hot in the summertime and it's dry and it's you know, people have to work in 95-degree weather. No, we say, you know, it just doesn't rain a lot. And so we've got good construction, so you can build it a whole lot faster. But that's the difference in the way you present it. But don't oversell. We made sure that anything we ever said, and they got that from everybody sitting in that room. And the other thing I told them was at the end of, when you get through your spiel, the last thing you say is, we want you to come. And I think that a customer likes to know that you want them to buy your product. You want them to be a part of whoever you are, and you want them to come back. And it's all down to personal relationships. That's why you go to Alive After 5. That's why you participate in things like this, so that you get to know each other. The world turns on a lot of things, but it primarily turns on relationships, and that's how we manage each other.
Carolyn, anything you want to add?
Yes, wow, they covered so well. But it gets back to the B2C that you referenced earlier. Everybody wants to give to all the good, right? Well, but then we all have our own special interests. So, for example, one of our big supporters is the school district, SFA also is, but when we go to talk to the different campuses about opportunities to support United Way and what their donations, their pledges would support, we're going to talk about the Boys and Girls Club, which is one of our wonderful United Way agencies, and Solid Foundation that has a great program for at-risk kids after school. Maybe about the food pantry that helps to feed some of the hungry families and get the kids there with a full tummy. So we just try to think ahead that way. Also have maybe an incentive for them. We do have an incentive for all donors at a certain level. For United Way, Rex Periodiclex donates a car that goes to one lucky donor every year, which is very exciting and awesome. But for NISD, our current campaign chairman, Wendy Buchanan, got little dragons made, and the dragons helped us to make the ask. And so at every campus, whoever turned in their pledge form for United Way had the opportunity to win that dragon. I tell you, that really was very, very effective. But it gets down to thinking what's going to speak to that particular customer or donor in our case, what's going to really touch their heart as far as the story, how they can feel good about being impactful with their dollar. And then also it's to remember to make the ask. We had one presenter who was such a good presenter, but really didn't get around to making the ask, and another one on our team said, hey, don't forget, make the ask at the end of your great story, so make the ask. So.
I've got more questions. We got about 10 minutes. I want to make sure you all have your questions answered, so you got it. Go ahead.
Was it Janelle?
Yes.
Janelle, so I have a question for you. Do you do individual leases, or?
We, so there's two different types of leasing. It's gonna be either conventional, where it's leasing out the entire unit, or student, which is per bedroom. So our properties are all bills paid, like Lofts, Legends, and Overlook, which are the student properties in town, but they are conventional leases, so we lease out per unit.
So my question is this: I have a daughter who is at A&M, and when we were looking at our apartment, I liked something and she hated it. So how do you deal with that when the student is either wants to close or doesn't, and the parent is the opposite? How do you deal with two people going different directions, but you're still trying to get it closed?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and we deal with it every day. Every single employee mine here is going, yep. Because the motivation is different, right? So we identify ahead of time. It goes back to the presentation earlier, knowing your script, knowing your product, and knowing the motivation of the person you're talking to. So knowing that the perspective of the student resident is going to be, can I see myself in this space? What does my life look like? Where am I going to study? Who are my friends coming over? I'm acting very childish, but in general, like it's not the big picture, right? Whereas the parents are there to protect them. Is this property safe? Are you gonna take advantage of them? Are you gonna take care of them? What happens if maintenance is a problem? And so by realizing that both perspectives are valid, we ensure that our script covers both of them, because even if the student doesn't know to ask those questions, we're gonna make sure they know the answers. And even if the parent doesn't care how the student feels, it matters, because are they gonna renew or not? And we want that renewal, and we want that longevity. So it's like number one of the things we talk about. We have to, yeah, because it is two perspectives for one concept, yeah.
Other questions? All right, so I'll ask a question then. So one of the theoretically 5 steps we have is overcoming objections. A lot of times it happens at the close. So how do you overcome objections when you're asking somebody for the sale? Judy, do you want to start us off on that one?
Well, the first thing is you look at the objection, and if it's a true objection, and it's not anything you can do anything about, say it's been last to me. But if it's an objection that you can solve, like, okay, well, your price is too high for what I'm looking at, and say, well, let's talk about if there's an alternative, if there is even the slightest alternative. I'm confident that my daughter-in-law over here, Janet, can identify with that better than anybody, because of the product she sells, she can sell you a cheaper one. Or she can make the logo a little less expensive or whatever. So take the objection and see if there's a way to work with it. When Chuck's probably my best example, talking about, okay, you don't have enough employees, you know, you're a small town. Said, I got a university. And they built that around, they built their whole program around the fact that we have a university here, and as a result, offered scholarships and paid them. Man, talk about a win-win. But we had to overcome and sell the fact that we may not have 30,000 people above the age of 20, but we got a whole bunch of people that are between 18 and 24. And those people were looking for part-time jobs, which is primarily what they built it on. Another good example of an objection, we have industry here that's going to leave. And I had just been called back to Nedco after having been gone 5 years. And I asked the question, has anybody been out and talked to them to see if we can't talk them into staying? And that was 60 jobs, which were really important to those 60 families, as well as to the community. Good heavens. So I went out, and city manager went with me. Went out, and there wasn't hardly anybody there, but got the guy and said, okay, he said, I don't want to leave. He said, but you got to talk to a guy named McDonald, but he's an MAC. It was in North Carolina, wasn't in Carolina. And so got McDonald on the phone, and I said, you know, we don't want you to leave. What can we do to keep you? And after some negotiating, the city can offer a few things that can encourage them to stay. But you know what? I think the main thing is they wanted to know we want them to stay. And that the workforce did not want to move. And by the way, the third thing was that workforce, this particular facility was much better performing than their other facilities. That helped. But it all had to do with the business decision they were making about receiving product. So we were able to help, but you got to start by asking, what's your problem? What's your problem? And then see if there's not some way that you can go back and fix it.
Anybody else want to comment on objections, or?
I think.
Go ahead.
Well, like Judy said, just find out what the objections are and deal with that. I think just deal with it with respect, because the person who says no today might be the one who says yes tomorrow, if you treat them with respect and properly. And for us, it's about communicating our mission, and that we operate very lean. With a nonprofit, there's that dirty word of overhead, and you know, people might be hesitant to Pete, that's when, because I'm employed, well, but I'll tell you what, we're not gonna get into that, but anyway, don't just say we keep it lean, I work for Turkey. No, I work for the mission. But we have turkey trot, Christmas parade, doodad that helps cover our overhead, so that's that, so 100% of the donor dollar goes back to the community. I have to communicate that, let that settle, and then it's up to them to make that decision in the end. It's totally voluntary, and I want them to feel good about what they're doing, so just respect if it's not the right time.
No, it could be a stop sign, so we say find a detour if it's possible. Is that what you were saying, right? Also, sometimes a no is more just like a complaint, so knowing the difference. And so I have a standard that if you say, I'm sorry, that's company policy, it's because you don't understand the policy, or the policy is terrible. It's okay to say that's the policy because that's how we make money. It's okay, we're all in business. But if you don't understand why a policy exists, then you should ask why, because once you can get them to understand your perspective, sometimes a no or a stop sign turns into understanding because of education. So you win them over to your side because they realize you're not trying to swindle them, you just have to make money, you have to be business and to be smart because of other circumstances that have happened.
And speaking of education, a shout out to classmate leadership, most awesome leadership classmate, Patrick, including United Way, but these others too. I think that's great that you did this, that you took the time to put these QR codes for the different organizations, so you all can be educated on it. So, thank you.
Well, we got about a couple more minutes, and Melissa, while we wrap up here, you pass out those surveys for us so people can have them. Oh, you already got them. How about that? So y'all fill those out. Just a couple minutes. Tell us what is it that a wrap up, kind of a summary. Anything that you wanted to say that you haven't had a chance to say yet? Jenna, go ahead.
One of the questions that you had prompted us, that you had told us in advance was, and I thought it was really an issue that we have as leaders, is how do you prioritize sales when you have so many other things to do? And so something that I have striven to do, because I had to realize, well, why am I not delegating? Because it's not that I don't want to delegate, it's that maybe I don't know what I want, or maybe I'm not confident in where we're headed and I don't have clear instructions. It could be that I don't trust you yet because you're not trained yet. And so what I try to do specifically with sales, so that someone else can go do and be there instead of me physically being there, is keep it simple. We hear that all the time, but I gave you all little baggies because we're here for sales and marketing, so I better be marketing my company. But in them, there's a little card that says, I hope this gave you some joy. Our marketing plan is based off of joy, J-O-Y. Just show up is J, just show up. You're there, you can make a difference. That's a big part of what we talked about with the Live After 5, right? O is one idea. You don't have to be extravagant all the time. It can make you distracted. If you have one solid idea, you can make an impact. And then why, you make the difference. And then we can talk about like making sure that you smile and all of those things, but your presence makes a difference. And so if you can make a simple marketing strategy, you can delegate that much easier, and then you don't have to be everywhere, and you can prioritize it.
Take care of your people, and that's just exactly what you were talking about. If you don't train your people to be on board with your philosophy, then you're going to fail, because you can't be everywhere all the time. And I know that you all have all had very successful employees, and then you've had some that, hire slow, fire fast. You cannot change a person who has consistently done the wrong thing. And hard as that is, there's nothing harder than I ever did other than let somebody go. And you do that with the grace that you can. And I never go anywhere and don't say these two things. One, have you ever gotten really irritated and aggravated in your life with somebody over an issue? Maybe it's a grocery store or whatever else. And you really just want to chew somebody out about it. Or you have been justifiably angry at something. One of the things you need to try to do is don't climb up on a 6-inch process. And what I'm telling you is, if the issue is not going to change the world, if somebody, now an employee, gets the wrong phone number, that's a 6-inch cross. If somebody insults a customer who comes in or closes the door, that's a 12-foot. And those are the things that you need to be very careful about in not just your professional life, but certainly your personal life, is make sure that, because a lot of things you all do change the world. I mean, if you aren't out there earning that money, getting that money in, then people are gonna go hungry and hurt. If you don't do your job right, then there are gonna be people who don't have an apartment to stay in if you don't give them the advice. That's history of the world. If it's not that, just fluff it, just walk away, just say, you know what, I'm looking for the meeting. And the other thing is, when those things that come your way that are the irritations, like somebody not taking, or cutting in line at Walmart, that's a 6-inch across. If somebody runs into your car outside and doing damage, that's a 12-footer. Or if you see something happening in a parking lot that you know is wrong, that's a 12-footer. That's my philosophy.
Great philosophy, and it's hard to follow that. But truly, it comes down to being passionate about what you do and fulfilling your purpose, believing in what you're selling, whether it's a product, a service, an opportunity to give back to the community. Maybe, hopefully you're a customer of what you're selling like I am, but maybe not always. If you're selling like 50-pound pipe wrenches, you're not necessarily gonna have that, but still you've got to see the place in the world and how that's gonna make everything work better. And we have a saying at United Way, our byline is live united, and it sounds catchy, but that's what it's all about. It's about working together and in this group, networking, marketing, like we heard about in the first session, just here to support each other and spread the word about all the good that we are trying to do together as a community, as an economy, and all that to make Nacogdoches stronger. So that's it. I'm glad to have had the opportunity to be here with you all, even though it started out with a bad sign.
Well, please help me thank our panel. And thank you all for coming today. Hopefully this was beneficial to you. We'll have another business development series. Keep an eye out for that and all the other great things that the Chamber has to offer you. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.